Tonight on Obscured Reality, join Mark, Mike, and Stephanie as they share personal stories of strange happenings in their lives. Let's see if these things can be explained. Let's see if you can explain them. Sit down, sit back, and relax, and join us on our journey through Obscured Reality.
Welcome to another episode of Obscured Reality. Join your hosts, Mark, Mike, and Stephanie, as they take you through a journey of the extraordinary, bizarre, and often frightening world of the unknown. Explore topics of the paranormal, UFOs, alien abduction, lost civilizations, mythical monsters, and other unexplained mysteries. Come along with us as we transcend into another dimension of obscured reality.
Welcome back to Obscured Reality. I'm your host, Mark. Joining me tonight, your co-host, Mike.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Your other co-host, Stevie.
Hi.
And your resident guest, Brad.
What's up?
He's made a return appearance.
Yeah, baby, I'm here again.
I'm excited.
I'm here.
Because I got a story I want to hear his opinion on tonight.
Okay.
We'll see. Maybe some personal stories tonight, guys. Mike's going to make up a story for us. No, I'm just kidding. He's not.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. We'll see.
No, we're not making up shit.
Nah.
It's all real.
Yep.
It's all real. I got a pretty good one. I think it's good. I think Stevie, that's going to be hard. I'm used to Stephanie.
It's fine either way. It's really just to distinguish myself from other Stephanies in the world.
Oh, it does. I think you did a good job of that without minus the name. Probably.
That's fair. That's very fair.
I had intended on a different story until I heard you guys were coming, and I figured I'd change it up because I have a better story.
Nice.
Very recent. Two of you know it, Stevie, Mike. We've talked briefly about it.
Okay.
But this is another one of those. It happened recently, and zero explanation. So let's begin.
All right.
You know how a few weeks ago that comet was coming by, and there was a few nights where if you were going to see it, that would have been the time to pull out the telescope or whatever, all that shit.
Yeah.
So I came outside to see if I could even faintly see it with my eyes, because I was going to pull out my camera, telephoto lens, see if I could pick anything up. But I wasn't going to waste my time unless I could actually see it, because I don't want to have one of those telescope cameras with the motors and the star map already built in that's going to find it for me, right?
That would be pretty cool, though.
Yes, you
Oh,
do.
yeah,
You're
that
so
would be
full
super
of
cool.
crap.
I wish.
Exactly.
I wish. Hey, if I had $1,000 to blow on something like that, man,
Yeah.
that'd
see?
be great.
Dude, I used to have this telescope. It was huge. The thing was like that big, had a big tripod, and I just found myself never using it. So one day I just got rid of it. I just tossed it in the trash.
I just bought my first telescope ever at an estate sale for like $20.
Nice.
There you
I'm
go.
actually really excited to use it too. It's just too cold up here in Indiana.
Too cold to use it. You just
Too
put
cold
it
to
in
go
your window.
outside. It is in my window, but I have a tree right in front of said window. So
Yeah. I had one, someone got me once for like my birthday or something, and it was a super shitty, like $30 telescope.
Yeah.
I think I like tried it once, and it was like, oh, there's, even with a good one, it's like, there's only so many times you can look at the moon, because other than that, what
Yeah,
can you really
that's
see
true.
besides a ring around a planet? But it's not like you're seeing that in Hubble detail.
Yeah.
Agreed.
True.
Agreed.
So it's like, well,
I think if I lived somewhere like,
Yes.
where it was clear sky and I had like, an area to really use it, but
Like
there's
the
so
mountains.
much cloud cover in where I'm at.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's pointless.
yeah, it's like all I could do was look at the moon. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, I'd be able to do it here a little better than where you're at, but
yeah.
I guess I'm really lucky living where I am because like a 5-minute drive gets me into the absolute country.
You're not
So-
lucky where you live because I know what city it is. There's nothing lucky about that.
And I heard the
lucky-
state, so I'm good too.
I am lucky in regards to like
Sorry, you
in
just got double
proximity
teamed.
to. Oh Lord, I am lucky where I live in proximity to no light pollution. But yes, other than
Yes.
that, the state that I live in is
Great.
not great. But a stone
got
throw
no-
away is a liberal state, so at least there's that because weed is legal there, and that's all I care about.
I got nothing against Indiana.
I have
but-
everything against Indiana.
It's just that there's nothing there.
Right,
Just like
exactly.
a lot of those states out there. It's just like, I mean, I wouldn't mind living there if I knew a bunch of people. We had stuff to do, whatever. But I'd much rather
Yeah.
live like where you live, Mike. Everything is there.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to the same place every damn night, you know?
Yeah.
But, so yeah, this story took place a few weeks ago when that comet was at its most, which was, I think, like a Tuesday or whatever. So I'm like, well, where do I see it in the sky? So I pull up some stuff and find out they said it's going to be by Polaris. And they showed a diagram of the, whoever knows, correct me if I'm wrong, Polaris is by the Little Dipper? It's a Little Dipper or the Big
I have
Dipper?
no idea.
It's one of them. Nobody.
No, I don't.
I'm
bust
gonna
out the
Google
app.
it.
There
Yeah,
you go.
I think it was a Little Dipper, wherever Polaris is. So it's really noticeable. So Little Dipper, you said, Stevie?
yes, Little Dipper.
All right, so Polaris is by Little Dipper. So the diagram showed the Little Dipper, Polaris, and where this comet was supposed to be, which was the night, and from where I'm looking, was supposed to be kind of like to the bottom to the and right of the end of the Little Dipper. Okay. Doesn't matter. Polaris. Very easy to spot, especially now that you know it's by Little Dipper. You can't miss Polaris. Polaris, other than that, has no point in this story other than point of reference.
Okay.
So I'm out here looking and looking and looking. I finally pull up a diagram. I'm like, okay, here's where I need to be looking. I even pull out the Star Walk app.
Yeah.
And you can live view all the stars and all that. So you know
awesome.
exactly where things are. It's amazing. I'm like, cool. And so I'm sitting there. I mean, I was sitting there for like at least 10 minutes, freezing my butt off, looking for this thing. And I'm pretty much ready to call it quits. And I'm like, I'm not going to see it. I'm not going to waste my time with the camera and the lens, And so I look back up. I'm like going to look one more time. And at some point in the 1 minute I'm looking at this last viewing, right? I notice off to the left of Polaris and a little below it, just a light moving in the sky. Not unusually fast, not unusually bright. I would have assumed an airplane. First thing that comes to my mind. Of course, there's no flashing lights. Now, it wasn't on the normal flight path. It would appear, if it was an airplane light, that it was high, like commercial airline traveling state to state high,
Yeah.
right? But the normal flight path that comes over us is directly over us and from a completely different direction. That's where I was like, well, that's weird. I've never seen them come from that way. So I pulled up Flight Radar 24. You've used that app.
Yeah.
Awesome, right? Any airplane that has their transponder on, you can see them. I pull that up and there's nothing. There's nothing showing. I'm like, well, there's no way it's not a commercial airliner. Well, I guess it could be military and they'll turn their transponders off. But I also couldn't hear it. Even that high up, we hear them. Especially if it's quiet out at night, you're going to hear it. Not loud, but you'll hear it. I didn't hear anything, whatever. Figure the direction it's coming from. Who cares? But it's just moving nice and easy towards Polaris, below it, but in the direction, And I'm like, huh. So I looked down at Flight Radar 24 again. I closed it, refreshed it, opened it, and pull it back up and double check it, and still no aircraft. I zoom out, no aircraft. I look back up and the light's gone. I'm like, okay, whatever. That's weird. Like, how am I missing this? So I do Flight Radar again, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, Jesus, there's nothing here. I look back up, and I shit you not. Now, where Polaris is, so at first, here's Polaris, and I'm going from the view I'm sitting right now. Polaris was literally right there. Okay. originally that light was just going doo 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 like this. I look down flight radar 24. I look back up and it's gone. So now I look back up. Here's Polaris, and here's Polaris. Now there's a light up here going like this, down from top down towards Polaris. I'm like, you have to be kidding me. So I'm like, there is no way I'm going to be the only one that sees this. Like you can't. You're not going to be able to tell anyone if you're the only one that sees this. What's so funny, guys?
Mike's chewing now. I can hear it now.
Yeah, he's
now
been doing it the whole time. He
I'm
doesn't care.
hyper aware of it.
You remember what he said that one show was 3 times ago? He said, I don't give a fuck.
That sounds about right.
It's almost gone.
It's pretty much right.
Right when he got into it, I was like, fucker's chewing his thing, dude.
Yeah, that's why I had to stop a minute ago, because he did that, and like thoughts just came to my mind, and I just couldn't not laugh.
Here, let me just finish this thing real quick.
So I saw that, and I'm like, coming from top down now, I'm like, no, I'm not going to be the only one that sees this. Like, I'm going crazy. I run inside because we just got home. And, oh no, we didn't just get home. Kind of. I run inside, and I didn't even go in. I just opened the garage door, and I yell out to my wife. I'm like, hey, come here real quick. You need to see this. So she comes out, like, fairly quickly. And we get back out there. I'm like, look, it's gone. Same as from when it was going left, right. Just gone.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, what the hell? And I stood there for a while and watched to see, like, is this thing going to come back somewhere? Like, what could it be? And never saw it again. So, you know, what's the first thing, knowing that you see it 2 separate times, and obviously not knowing if it's the same light or not.
Right.
My assumption is it would be. I mean, it was the same brightness. It appeared to be about the same speed as the first one, right? Drone, like consumer drone, DJI, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, well, you know, that's the only thing I can think. What could the possibility of that be? But in that quick amount of time, going this way, I'm like, it's gone, and now it's going this way. It was seconds. There's no way. You know.
Would you have heard it if it was a helicopter?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Helicopters are loud, man.
I'm just trying to get a judge on how far this so-called light was.
You can't tell. It's a light, you know?
That's why.
If you don't know what the object behind it is, you have no idea how far away. So
it could have been a helicopter.
No, they don't fly that high.
Okay.
And I say that as if I know the altitude, which I just said I don't. But,
Right,
here's
yeah.
what I'm saying. The appearance of the light, the brightness of the light, my very first thought when I saw the first one was commercial airliner. So my initial brain reaction was that airplane is very high. It would look like,
Gotcha.
if you were to see commercial airliner flying over our area, they're coming in from Hawaii. They're
Right.
coming in from over the ocean. They're high, and they're not landing here. They're landing elsewhere because they're super high.
I agree.
Look just like that, just no flashing lights and just the white light. Yeah, it was really weird. And I'm like, well, of course, I'm not going to be the only one to see this. And of course, I am the only one to see it.
or did you?
Well,
I mean, I didn't see it.
I don't do drugs.
Your
I
wife.
really drink. So,
True.
I don't know. Any ideas? What do you think it could be?
I don't know. I would just assume it's some kind of an aircraft or a plane or something, but hard to say.
I wouldn't. Only because of left to right and then seconds later, top down.
That's why
That's
I
my
agree. That's why I agree with either your drone or or something that could go in that direction.
I would
quickly.
yeah, I would say no helicopter because of that quickly.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And
That's fair.
but of course, it all depends. It's perspective. It all depends how high it was. But it's just a light, and that's what you always hear with these stories is people like, well, that thing had to be close because of the brightness and blah blah blah. I'm like, well, it could be 10,000 miles away and brighter than the sun, and it's going to look like it's right in front of your face.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know if it's just a light. You have zero way of defining unless you know what the object behind it is. You know, and what you commonly see. But the only explanation I can think of possibly could be a drone. But like my drone, these newer ones, they have a light on the bottom. And typically not flying like that. I mean, it was literally left to right, literally up, down.
Mm-hmm.
There was no other movement in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know if I had to explain it. I can't explain it, but
No.
the only possibility I could come up with, even remotely close, would have to be drone. Airplane, you would hear it. Helicopter, you'd hear more than an airplane. I mean, you got
Agreed. Yeah.
5+ blades cutting wind. That's why they're loud,
Yeah.
And they don't. If that was as high as a commercial airliner, well, the helicopters aren't up that high. So, I don't know. What do you think, Stevie? What do you think it could be? I have a hard time with Stevie.
It's okay. You can
I'm
get
trying.
a pass. You can get a pass on it. I kind of agree with the guys. Just like a drone, more than likely the answer if it was to be like identified. I don't know, but
Right.
I kind of agree with the guys. But again, like you said, the movement of it is sus, I guess. But yeah,
I think it is a little bit. I don't know.
when it drops.
Y'all ever see any weird lights in the skies?
Yes,
No.
You have.
I have.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. I've never seen anything. I can't explain it until I moved here. And
I
of
have
course,
seen.
I'm looking at the sky more here.
Oh, sure.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, maybe we'll move on to Stephanie. You have a story. I don't know what it is, but
Great.
I hope it's good. I hope it's better than mine.
Just okay.
Either way, they're personal stories, right? So
Yeah.
it's all about can you find explanations? Can you not find explanations?
Mhm.
Anything's possible, but using common sense, critical thinking, as we've always said, you can never just jump to something extraordinary we have no proof for. But then again, can you discount it?
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it's
with any story.
It's not that whose story is more interesting, although Stevie's will be. But for the subscribers and the people
Probably.
watching can definitely drop a comment below what their experience is, right? And we can definitely discuss those as well.
Email for those. obscuredr1@gmail.com. Since Brad brought it up, obscuredr1@gmail.com. If you have a personal story of your own, send them there. Put story in the subject line. All right, Stevie, what's your story? I'm excited to hear this.
Real quick, I just want to say that I've seen like unexplained lights in the sky in 4 different states, just because I've had the privilege of having a job that allowed me to move around to a lot of states often. So I've seen some strange things, but I'll get into those later because at this current time, I would just like to go over a story that you and I have already spoken about. But I actually really want to get
maybe we did.
Possibly, yeah, I'm pretty sure we did, but I would like to get the guys' reactions on this.
I'm
simply
excluded,
because-
guys.
Hey,
Well, you and I have talked about this, but I mean, just remember when we were talking about my little cursed object that other night?
Yeah.
All right, so it is about my cursed object because
Okay.
I still can't draw any other logical conclusions as to like why.
Well,
So-
you're definitely going to have to go through the whole story.
Oh, I will.
Okay.
So this is my.
It looks like a
Sounds
pack
so
of
stupid.
McDonald's fries.
Dude, I was just thinking the same thing. It's like,
It is
jealous.
a Christmas ornament that my parents got me back in like the 90s when I was a kid. It has a little switch on the back that is for on off. I don't know if that's coming through clear or not.
Yeah,
But it is. It plays music when you switch it on.
We'll do the scary movie thing. It plays music with no batteries.
Okay.
No, there's definitely
That's where my
batteries in
mind
it.
goes.
There's definitely batteries in it. So I have not been in possession of this ornament in over 2 decades. Over 2 decades, 2.5 decades. And so my parents are like starting to slowly trying to pawn my old stuff back off on me, like my old toys, my old Christmas stuff. Like slowly they'll start bringing down boxes of things. So Christmas time, they brought down more Christmas crap for me. I love them to death, but it's like, please just donate my stuff or something. And this is about 9:30 in the morning, set the box in my front room on my chair, and we left to go get breakfast. Came back a couple hours later. I ended up going to play video games in the room that I'm in right now, which is on the opposite side of the house.
Video
go
games
into my
are for kids, except Halo.
I love video games.
Hey, me too.
Yeah.
Look, I love Assassin's Creed. I love it so much. And also, I really
Too
enjoy...
repetitious for me.
No, I like Origins because it wasn't repetitious. But once you get into, like, Odyssey and Valhalla, then it's just like The Witcher without the witching. So that's another rant of mine. Anyways.
You lost us on Witcher. Never heard of it.
Anyways,
another day.
I digress. That's
No,
another
we
rant
digress.
for another day. We all digress. So I'm in this back room that I'm in right now on the opposite side of my house, and I decide that I'm hungry, so I walk into my kitchen. It's about 4:30 at this time. The second I hit my kitchen, which is down a hallway from my room, I hear this. Oop, there it is. I hear this just in the distance, and I freeze, and I'm like, no. So I go over to the chair that has a sealed shut box on it, and I start digging through all of the things that are in it, and I finally pull this guy out, and I have to physically turn him off.
How is it like activated? Is there like a sound activated, or
No.
you have to push a button?
No, it is literally a trigger. This guy right here, this little black trigger that is a on and an off.
Oh, yeah, it's like a slide.
So if you
It's a
leave
slider.
that in the on position, it just continuously
Just-
plays until that battery
yes.
dies.
I even tried that, so I was like, "There's no way."
So it was in the off position when you heard it.
No,
when
it
you're
was on the
getting there.
on position when I found it, but it had been silent all day up until this point, which was about 4:30 in the afternoon. And
So, like, I remember I used to have like a Christmas tree ornament
Mm-hmm.
that as soon as it would hear something,
Sure.
you know, sound activated if somebody walked by, and it was really sensitive. But that's not the case here. That's
Mm-hmm. no,
interesting.
obviously, I mean, I'm playing with it, I'm touching it, I'm talking next to it.
I just want to clarify because I think I might have lost myself. When it's in the on position, it continuously plays and
Yes.
does not shut off.
Yes, I even tested
Okay.
that. I turned it back on, set it down, walked away from it, and it continued to play, and it would not
Okay.
stop. It cycles through about 4 songs before it like starts over again.
Okay. Got it.
Now, this is one of many weird experiences I've had in this house. My house is over 125 years old, and it's old. There, it was originally fitted for gas when it was built. And there's just some weird energies. I've been living in 2 different apartments. This house is broken up into 3 different apartments. There's one upstairs that I own currently, and there's 2 downstairs. The one I used to have downstairs also connected to the basement. If you don't know what a Michigan basement is, please Google it. It is terrifying. It's basically a step up,
Is it
step
worse
up
than
from a dirt
Indiana
floor
basements?
cellar. It's 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 a
you know,
step
we
up
go
from a
to-
dirt floor cellar.
We go to a relative's
wow.
house in Indiana, miles from you. And,
Yeah.
dude, there's no door. Like, the stairs just go down. There's no door blocking the stairs.
Oh,
And it's right when you walk in from the garage. I can't stand it. Every time I turn the light on, I leave it on. If someone else shuts it off, they shut it off, but I leave it on. I cannot stand walking by it.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
Dude,
It's
I-
just black down there, pitch black.
So yeah,
Can't
that's how
stand
my
it.
basement is. And there's a section on the other side of the basement. Like once you go down the stairs, it's like that one area is kind of lit and it's fine, but it's the section behind that wall that just has this horrible vibe coming from it. So obviously this makes no sense, but I would stick things in front of the door so that the ghost couldn't get out. Shut
there
up.
you go. That'll yes.
Shut up. It just made sense in my head.
Yep.
But I've experienced like weird feelings of being watched and like almost like an angry man's presence. Like if if you had siblings growing up, if you guys were in a fight and you knew that they were like in their other room, you could feel the energy of them being upset or angry. It was
Right.
like that. But since I've moved upstairs, it hasn't been as weird with like the vibes of being watched, but I have had that instance with my little cursed toy and another one because I record myself when I sleep because I talk in my sleep and I find it incredibly hilarious.
Whoa. Pause,
So I record-
pause.
Does it sound like a demon voice, you know?
We're
No,
going to
no,
need
no,
some
no,
of those
it's-
recordings for the
Yes,
show.
that's fair.
Like
Yes,
speaking in
100%.
tongues.
100%. I don't care what you're saying.
Wow.
Yeah,
My boyfriend
guys,
is the worst. He's former army, so like the other night I recorded him saying, "You're on tower guard, bitch."
guys,
awesome.
guys, be prepared. Upcoming show at some point.
Yeah, that's
we're
awesome.
gonna go over those. I will.
Kill him.
I will
Kill
hound.
him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hound her to death.
that's awesome.
So
Hopefully, we
anyways,
can get some. That's cool as shit.
so yeah, I find it fucking amusing, obviously. But it records things like snoring, movement, like any type of thing. Like if you fart in your sleep, it'll like record your fart and be like, "Hey, you farted." It's kind of funny. This is the greatest app ever. This is the greatest app ever. So as I was going through my recordings, because I'm curious, I go through them all night, and I was listening to one, and it was just a snoring one. It was just regular, but in the background, you could hear somebody walking down my hallway. Now, at this time, mind you, my boyfriend, who he's been staying with me for a couple weeks now, he wasn't here at this time. It was just me in the house. I live on the top floor. No one lives above me, other than maybe a raccoon. But there's like our apartments are pretty solid considering the age of this house and how it was built. I don't know if you guys know too much about Midwest construction, but these things are shit brick houses. So I don't hear my neighbors downstairs ever. Neither one of them.
Must be nice. We don't have to
I
worry
love
about
it.
that. I know Mike has to worry about that. Not downstairs, but next door. I couldn't imagine, dude. That's
Yeah, so I get along with everyone else in the house, so it's all good. But yeah, she'll turn her music up like super loud, and like I won't even hear it. And I'm literally in the room above her, and I won't hear it.
well.
So-
I got to ask you some questions. I think.
Yeah.
Hopefully
No,
I
go
remember
ahead
them.
because I'm still trying to find logical answers.
But remind me before we cut this episode off. To mention a possible story to Mike that I can't tell. Only Mike can, but up to you.
Okay.
Your little toy, man, it makes me think about kids' toys.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
Furbies.
you laugh, Brad, but number one, kids' toys are a real thing. Number two, her story is about the toy, not the ghosts in the basement.
Right.
The toys suck. Are you sure you left that thing in the off position and you didn't somehow leave that on and it just kind of said, I'm done?
I have never touched that thing prior to 4:30 that afternoon because my parents had dropped the box off. I had put the box on the chair because like Carol brought it up. I took it from her, put it on the chair. We left to go to breakfast. It was a closed box when I had to open it to find said noise-making object. And there were multiple things that were like on top of it, but nothing that would have like slid off of it with enough force to flip the flipper over to turn on, because it was all things like plastic ornaments or porcelain ballerina slippers. Don't laugh, guys. Like that's literally my old crap my parents are still trying to pawn off at me. So there was nothing of weight that
so when you guys got back home
randomly.
nothing touched the box and jolted it or anything and started playing. Yeah, that's weird. I mean, it makes me, like I said, it makes me think of kids' toys. Creepiest things. And the thing is, you know, if you have kids, you have so many kids' toys that take batteries.
Yes.
And so many that you don't have to shut off. All you got to do is push a button and they start doing stuff.
Yeah.
And they never, ever start playing in the middle of the night all the time. It's just once a year. And you're like, what the hell? You know,
this was the first time
so
in like
creepy.
over 2 decades.
So I have one small little story too.
well, hang on. I think
But
Brad was going to jump
you're
in
gonna-
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, I want to remind you about a story because I think it's a good one. I think it's really good. You probably forgot. I don't think we told it, but completely up to you. But I think it's a good one. But I know Brad was.
yeah.
We cut off on the show. We cut people off. So jump in anywhere.
Oh no, I wasn't cut Mike off, but you cut Mike off
Well,
before me.
her. She was talking.
Oh no,
you
Stevie.
kept-
No, Stevie. I want to hear. It's you that didn't stop talking. I'm not.
obscuredarone@gmail.com, folks. Comment down below also.
I'm not a. Look, I'm here because I'm not. I don't follow ghosts. I don't follow UFOs or anything like that.
Right.
But are there any recorded deaths in that 120-year-old home?
I think I asked you that too.
I am not aware, but that is
It's always a
something that
thing.
if I went down to my public office, I could probably find
Right.
out simply because that is public record. But
should.
since I am renting, that is not something they have to legally disclose to me because I am not
Correct.
purchasing my house. So,
Right.
Yeah, and then so that's obviously something that we could discuss. But I think for me, I'm going to what Mark was saying about the just being a crappy toy.
I mean, I'm
It just
wondering
went
about,
off. It
about
just went
wiring
off.
issues in there. You know, it's
It's
old.
just- yeah,
I'm not saying it's that. I mean, I think it's definitely odd, right?
of course.
still doesn't explain the footsteps that I caught on my recording for my sleeping.
What was the app that you were using?
Oh, let me pull it. Better Sleep. That's what it is. Better
Better
Sleep.
Sleep.
Yep. So I paid like $30 for like a yearly thing, and I can customize my own.
Mike's out.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
He was
I can
interested.
customize my
He
own like
was.
things to set me to sleep, and
I'll just
yeah,
have to set a camera up.
once it's done playing its music, it starts recording. So obviously, it won't record you while it's playing music. So once it's done playing your little music, it'll actually start recording. So at a certain time, after you're done, passed out in REM, it'll actually start recording your noises. Yeah.
Okay.
Worth
That's
it.
odd. That's
yeah.
odd.
On Brad's note, he mentioned about the were there any deaths in the house? I mean,
It is true.
Oh,
It
go
is
ahead.
traditional to have funerals in houses of this age. It was called a mourning room. It was also called a lady sitting room. It was a common thing for houses in the Victorian area up here. So, I mean, I'm sure there was probably, people who died here, considering it was built in 1895.
Yeah, I mean, you
Exactly.
always hear
Exactly.
stories about that,
Yep.
and the idea is that the energy stays in the walls, or if it was something tragic or torturous,
Exactly.
that sticks around. Obviously, there's no proof, but then
Yeah.
again, in a way, there's almost kind of evidence. People have stories, and you can't say everyone's full of crap.
I agree with you.
You know,
This house has been interesting to live in, to say the least.
no thanks.
Things
Yeah, I'm
tend
out
to go
too.
missing and reappear.
Nope.
Well, that is the boyfriend screwing with you.
Oh no. This is I'm live alone for the most part. He's up here because his car is getting fixed. That's literally it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I live alone. It's sometimes terrifying. But yeah, so that's my story. So yeah, let's hear.
You got a dog and a cat.
Mike's. I have 2 dogs and a cat,
So-
but yes.
So, moving on to Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
If you want to tell a story, up to you. But she mentioned some things, and something came to mind. Neighbors. I remember you telling me some stories years ago about neighbors and some noises and some possibility of ghostly activity, maybe something like that. I think your mom may have talked to them and they were telling her the story or something, but there was some weird things being heard.
Yeah.
I think you had mentioned something about hearing some noises at night, but it wasn't them. They weren't home. Something along those lines.
I don't really remember the details. I remember talking about
Yeah.
that, and I just don't remember enough details to go into that
Yeah.
story.
Okay. Well, what's the other thing that came to your mind?
Okay, so this is something that I actually figured out what's going on. The only pause I have is I can't remember if I already told this story on the show or not.
It doesn't matter.
But so one day I came down. I came downstairs. So I have a 2-story condo.
Okay.
So I came downstairs at like 3:00 in the morning, and my living room TV was on, and it wasn't on when I went upstairs. Did I tell this story before?
I don't think not.
I don't recall.
I don't recall either. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of weird, and I'm like, all right. So I just go and I turn the TV off. Well, then it started happening where
What room was the TV in? You
the
said
living room.
living room.
Yeah.
Okay, you came downstairs because you had heard it turn on.
I didn't hear it. I just came downstairs and you could see the light on.
Okay.
And there was no like, I have Apple TV. Now, actually, I already know exactly what happened and I'll go into the explanation, but it was freaky nonetheless. Because it
3
happened
in the
to me.
morning. Anything at 3
Yeah.
in the morning.
It's like glowing.
It happened to me like 5 or 6 times before I figured it out what was going on. And
Damn updates from Apple.
so then I would come home from work and the TV was on. So after about 5 or 6 times, one day it happened right in front of me. So I was in the living room
Like
and
this
I
ghost
did,
ain't playing around now.
yeah, I did not have the TV on, and the TV just turned on right in front of me. But one of my neighbors from like 2 doors down,
yes.
Man, get a gun.
it said,
Yep.
there was a code on the screen, and it said, connect to Greg's phone.
Yep.
So he was trying to access his Apple
And you
TV.
know he was over at his place mother effing the crap out of his TV because
Yeah.
it wouldn't turn on.
So,
and you're like,
Oh
what
my
the
God.
hell's going
so
on?
yeah, you know, it was like he lives like 2 doors down, and he
Right.
was trying to access his TV, but it connected to my Apple TV, turned on my TV, and was waiting for a code.
Man, can't you set a setting in there so it like doesn't
Probably, but it happened like 5 or 6 times. He's gone now. He doesn't even live there anymore.
Thank
He-
God.
He moved away about like a year ago.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. You
Was
know,
he a cool guy at least?
Oh yeah, he was
Okay,
super cool.
good.
It was him, his wife. He had 2 kids, and he was an executive chef. He owned a restaurant.
Oh, wow.
So super nice guy.
Owned a restaurant before COVID.
Oh, man.
No, it still does. Yeah, still
Good,
owns.
good.
It was up in the block.
Yeah.
somewhere
So-
up in there.
Yeah.
area.
He had connected to your TV before, or it was just like Apple trying to connect to another Apple TV, and he just
So
like, chose
from
the
like
wrong
Apple
one.
TV, like I can go onto my phone and I can just like, if there's an Apple TV within range, I can kind of try and connect to it. If I'm on the same Wi-Fi, then I can just connect. But if you're on a different Wi-Fi, like my Apple TV was just labeled as living room. So he may have thought he was trying to connect to his Apple TV.
Okay, I get it.
Awesome.
If you just push that on your phone, it's going to attempt to connect. But in order to connect, you need a code.
Yeah.
So a
Got
code
it.
appears on
Okay.
my TV.
So it
Not his,
automatically activates the device.
Right.
Yes.
And then you have
Yeah.
to enter that code in on your phone,
Right.
and then it will pair up.
Don't
but
allow. Yeah.
so once he couldn't do that, then my TV would just default to like the home screen. And so what I was seeing was like the screensaver, because after like,
Right.
5 minutes, then the screensaver would be on and it would just see the,
Man.
That's awesome.
so it happened like 5 or 6 times before that. I realized, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is what's happening. He's trying to connect. It turns my TV on and just left it on.
So
That's
at our current
actually
home,
hilarious.
at our current
Yeah.
home when we bought the house, I was meeting the neighbor, and make a long story short, the ceiling fans that they installed in the homes were the same, even the remotes. So he could go next to his exterior wall from his bedroom and turn on currently our home's fan.
Man.
He used to freak, I guess, the guy out. I changed all that when we moved in.
100%.
Yeah, he would go and just turn it on.
Wow. Jesus. That reminds me, back in the day of cell phones, probably about 15 years ago, just so many apps, new apps coming out. And there'd always be a new app where you could remotely control your own TV at home, right?
Yes.
And the thing about them was there wasn't a lot of security built into them at the time. So I could literally go to your house, pull up the app, put in the make, model of your TV, and I wouldn't need an access code. I could do whatever I wanted. So there was a local restaurant we would frequent for happy hour, if you remember.
I was part of it. I remember. I was there when it happened.
Not Claim Jumper, but
No,
the pizza place.
Yes, I was there when you did it.
And so this, for Stephanie here, since you don't know the story, we go in there and pull up the app and just start turning the TV off. And they'd have multiple ones up behind the bar, but we'd hit one and just turn it off. And if I recall correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember one time, like, I might have been alone. I don't know. The lady was starting to get pissed off. She didn't know what was going on, but she kept having to go turn it on or change the channel.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Those are awesome.
That's awesome. Oh, man.
What was the story we were talking about, Mike, before we started recording? Where I was asking, where you said you thought we had done it previously. I was going to ask Brad. I mean, I trust you.
Yeah.
I just really don't recall.
Was it a story that I had told?
No, we were just talking about it before Brad got here. I was like, "Oh, what about that story?" And you're like, "Oh, we already did that."
Oh yeah, that was the story where I had heard the light switch turn on, and I cleared the room I cleared the house with a gun. I was like looking around.
We did that on.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we did
Yes.
that, and I never did figure out what that was.
I thought it was
But-
a different one that we're talking about.
So that was the same night
The TV. Oh,
that I called you and I told you what happened, and then you had told me a story about while you were sitting in your room on your bed.
yeah, with the light.
And a light.
Okay.
And I think that was the same night.
It was the light story I don't remember telling on here.
I don't think you did.
Well, that's the story I was referring to. That
Yeah, well, you were telling
tell.
me, like, hey, you should tell the story about that, which would lead into your story. And I go, well, I
Yeah.
already told my story on a previous episode.
Let's go through it real quick because
Yeah.
it sounds like we may be at a standstill there.
Yeah.
Let's just go through it. It'll be new for you, Stephanie, Brad,
Yep.
probably.
Sure.
I think you're going to have better detail. Do you mind starting
no,
it out?
I'll-
I'll jump in because I'm remembering it a little bit differently, and
Okay.
I'm sure yours is probably more correct.
So, yeah, you want me to
Yeah,
go through?
yeah.
I'll just give you a quick
Yeah.
2-minute rundown. So, one night we were all hanging out here just like we would on any Saturday night. And so, after I got home, it was probably around midnight. I had just got up to my room, and think I had the door shut to my room. I don't remember because most of the time I leave my door open, but I think on this particular night I had the door shut, and I could hear like what sounded like a light switch, and it sounded like the light switch in my hallway.
Okay.
And it was quiet. I don't remember if I even had the TV on or not. I had just gotten my room, and even my dog, who was sitting on my bed, he alerted to the sound. He like picked his ears up and he started looking around, and it just kind of freaked me out. So I just kind of sat there and I listened. I couldn't hear anything, and I have a firearm in my room, and I went ahead and just grabbed it because it was basically sitting right next to me. And I kind of went through the whole house, and even my dog was definitely seemed like he was on edge, and never did figure out what that noise was, but it definitely sounded like a light switch. I didn't see any lights on or off, but when you're in the room,
Right.
and you're in a house all by yourself, and you hear something, and I mean, the direction of the noise, I could tell where it was coming from.
Right.
And it sounded like it was like 10 feet outside of my bedroom in the hallway. It didn't sound like it was coming from a neighbor's house, because I'll hear my neighbors from time to time. We share a wall. My bedroom and their bedroom is a shared wall. And sometimes I can hear them making noise. I can hear them, messing around in there. But it's a different, you can hear it's like a muffled through the wall.
Course,
you can
right.
hear where the sound is coming from. This was in a completely different, opposite direction of where their room would be.
Right.
And anyway, it was just weird.
So now this goes into
Yeah.
the light was the same night.
Yeah. So if what I remember correctly is, I think the next day I called you and said, hey, something weird happened, and it kind of freaked me out, and enough that made me want to clear the house and just double check.
Right.
And so when I called you, I believe that was the same time you had a story.
Yeah.
And
So
it was a weird coincidence that happened the same night.
So the night Mike left my house, that previous night when he heard the click in his house, I was sitting upstairs. I believe the wife was out of town, so it was just me. So I'm sitting up in bed watching TV, which normally I wouldn't do. Oh no, she was here. She was downstairs. So I had gotten up there before. I don't know. And the light on the bed, the nightstand on her side of the bed, just boom, turned on.
Mhm.
And I don't jump to, oh my God, crazy. I mean, it makes you think for a split second, of course.
Sure.
I'm like, huh. I mean, I was more pissed off that I had to get up and turn it off. So I go over there, and it's one of those where you pull the thing. I think,
Pull that little chain.
I'm not positive. It could be the turning thing. I think it's the turning one because I remember checking the clicks. If that ever does happen, which it's happened before, not here, but in the in the past 30 years somewhere it's happened. I recall. I'd be like, oh, because it's usually like one click, it's still off. Another click, it's still off. Another click, it's on.
Yeah.
Turn it a click, it goes off. Turn it a click, it stays off. Turn it a click, it goes on. It's 3 clicks. And I did that. And I'm like, my expectation was it was at the last off click, and it was just like barely turned enough where it was going to click over to turning on, and it was left there. That would be my assumption, right? doesn't matter. I turn it off and I check the clicks, like whatever. Lights back on, I turn it off and leave it there. And I don't know how long it was later. I mean, it was less than 5 minutes. The damn thing went on again. And it's never happened before that. It's never happened since. Fast forward to the next day, I'm texting him, Mike, being like, dude, the weirdest thing happened last night. And this is where I'm going to let him pick it up again. Because you had a similar incident, I think the same night, right?
No.
Oh.
No, that was the...
I thought you had, you said something.
No, my incident was the whole clicking noise and thinking that I heard a light turn on. But then that led up to it.
I was thinking lighter TV. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So...
But I have had a couple of times where Alexa has been, like my Alexa devices have randomly just started talking in the middle of the night.
Alexa's creepy.
You'll hear Alexa just going like, sorry, I don't know that. And I'm like, what?
My Alexa
I didn't ask you a damn question.
Yeah.
Dude, we just unplugged
my Alexa will do the same thing.
Alexa's great.
No, I turned her off. Lady.
You know what helps? A lot of times when those happen with Alexas, at least when you're talking, is you'll say a word that's similar to Alexa. You can go in the app and change the setting, what it's called, and they've added a lot more names now.
They have. Okay.
We've had to just because of kids.
I remember they used to use Echo and computer.
There was 3, Alexa, Echo, and computer. Now they've added a bunch more.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Ziggy.
Oh.
Ziggy's one of them. I know because we use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're meant to be, right?
So that you don't
words.
accidentally say it.
Yeah.
I mean, other than Ziggy, I mean, what other words are you saying that sound like it? Piggy? How often are you saying
you're
piggy?
Not. Yeah, you're not.
Right. Yeah. So that story Mike told was weird because I had something strange happen the exact same night.
And if I remember correctly, we were discussing the time frame, and it happened right around the same time.
Yeah.
It was something like that.
It was after he left and got home, and mine was at least after he had gotten home. It happened. So really odd. And, coincidence, right? I'll pass it off as coincidence. But, I mean, weird things happen. And you never know. I mean, we've always been good friends. Yeah. You hear about twins having a lot of times, not all, but you hear about a mental connection. You hear about weird things like that happening. I'm sure you know quite a bit about that. Not that you're a twin, Stephanie, but I mean, you're pretty smart in a lot of these things. And who's to say it isn't a coincidence, right? I'll never pull off that it isn't a coincidence. I'm sure it was, but things.
This you might not want to tell this story, but this is you can.
I'll tell
this
any
out.
Story.
Okay. Do you remember the time you were telling me a story not that long ago about something while you were in the bathroom?
Any story.
This is why.
That was tonight because of the pizza place we went to.
And you heard a noise, and you said it was like coming from like above you or whatever. But do you remember the story I'm talking about?
It sounds vaguely familiar. Not enough to tell it, but I hear odd noises at odd times a lot in this house. A lot of it because working from home now, and there's no one here but the dog.
Right.
And I will hear. I've heard recently in the last 6 months. I recall a time when I'm sitting there working, and the stairs go up. Literally, I can touch the wall that the stairs are built into going up, and the hallway up there is right there over my shoulder. And I swore to God, I heard something at the end of that hallway by where all the bedrooms are. Of course, there's nothing there. I swear to God, I heard something. And my first thing is, oh, the dog. And I turn around and look, and the dog's laying down on his bed right behind me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I have to go look. Just for, my mind's sake, I got to go look. But I've heard noises where we both have heard them here in the middle of the night where I've had to get up. I've had to grab a flashlight and grab something else. And as methodically as I can without a gun, walk around the house and see what the hell's happening. Most of the time I figured it out, but I've had a few occasions where I just can't figure it out. Not saying it's anything extraordinary.
Right.
It's just, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, that stuff initially can be jolting,
Of
scary,
course.
and you never know different people's frames of mind at the time they happen, and it's no wonder their stories. I mean, you don't know ultimately. And then you look at a story like this click that he heard that was not normal, and it turns out, we find out the next day, I had a really odd event happen at my house that very same night around the same time. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll talk about coincidences when we get to Bob Lazar's story, but really weird, So, well, we definitely got more than the 2 personal stories tonight. That's good.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was great.
I'm just hoping that at some point in time something happens to Brad where he's like, guys,
You got to hear this one.
Yep, because that if it's coming from him and something happens soon, that it's going to be good.
Yeah. I think, and I've said this before, I think for me is I'm so dismissive. I am. Like, have I heard things? Sure. But I'm like, whatever.
Oh, I'm
yeah.
dismissive too.
Like, I don't.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember them. I don't analyze it.
Yeah.
I just, all right.
99% of the time, something like that will happen, and I'll completely forget about it.
Right.
But then we start talking about this stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, there is that one thing.
Sure.
Like I don't think about it in my day to day. I'm not
For sure.
over analyzing it when it happens. It's just kind of weird. Like I'll check the house. I go, okay, everything's good, and I forget about it. But then we start talking about this stuff, and I'm like, I'll bring it up.
Yeah.
But I don't really spend too much time thinking about it, or
No.
And I personally think that 99% of this stuff has a logical
Of course,
explanation.
we'd
I
always
agree.
hear noises in our bedroom, and it took a while to figure it out. But we have a fireplace in there. We don't use it, but obviously the chimney goes up directly above our bedroom, and turns out the plating on the top of that chimney is all metal.
Yeah.
It's this thin like sheet metal.
Yep.
It folds down the sides, and the crows go up there.
Okay, I can definitely agree with you on that. That happened to us when we first moved to our place, and I was like, what is that noise?
I purchased the device, and there's been 0 crows up there since.
Yeah.
I have
old
a
device
family of
sitting up
squirrels
there.
that live in my chimney.
Oh,
I can hear them scurrying sometimes in my room. My cat will. It's okay. I really don't care. It's not an often enough occurrence for it to annoy me. But the cat will sit on top of my dresser and just like stare at the chimney.
Yeah, Stevie's thinking of us like, you fools. Like, I live in a 120-year-old home. I got a raccoon in the attic and some squirrels living in my chimney.
and the ghosts in the closet or the wall.
Yeah,
In the
oh,
basement. The ghost in the
Yeah, in the
basement.
basement. And it's like, suck it up, guys. Come on.
Hey.
Jeez.
Hey, is what it is. Well, exciting news. We may have our first guest soon on the show, which would be nice. They'd probably come here to do it, but it would be a personal story night, so keep your fingers crossed. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys got any final things to add? You guys, meaning all 3 of you, not guys in general.
No.
No, I'm good. I'm good too.
I'm good.
Okay. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Obscuredr1 at Gmail. If you have a personal story of your own, we've given you ideas in the past. We'll tell them here. Just put story in the subject, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check back with us often for new episodes. Feel free to drop a comment, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Obscured Reality.